Okay, second product I'll talk about will be Stelladome. Well, there's a bit of it. Oh, there we go. I got up, didn't get upside down. Fantastic. Okay, that's Stelladome, and it's my favourite little product to play with. I love just touching this. It's amazing. I had a client last year who bought 10 of them, and he owned a series of factories and employed 40 or 50 people, and he wanted them for all of his factories. And he rang me one day and he said, "Oh, why is it I feel so good when I've got my Stelladome in my pocket?" He said it's not for all the wrong reasons either. It was quite funny. Okay, the Stelladome was developed about January last year. It was a redevelopment of an older product called the Space Clearing Dome. And a little bit of the story to it. Leanne and I were sitting around in the backyard where we were living this time last year on a Sunday afternoon, enjoying a wine and a beer late in the afternoon. I think I'd been windsurfing or something. And we were quite relaxed. And Leanne said, "Oh, no, I said, I want to dump the dome. I don't want it in the range anymore. It didn't do a lot compared to the GeoCleanse, and it was a problem to make." And she said, no, don't do that. Use your brain and my intuitive skills to actually make it perform better. I thought, oh, okay. And I had some ideas in the back of my head from some things we did probably 10 years ago, which we never followed through with. So I worked on a number of changes. One was a new mould, a new resin, a new program. And this new program, I don't talk about a lot, but it was to do with neutralising a type of radiation we actually only found at airports, which was really, really strange. And maybe a later webinar I'll elaborate on that. So we added that program in, but it also went into all the products anyway. And we put this bottom on the Stelladome, which is the reflective bottom with the torus. And the torus, to some people, may only look like an image, but the torus is actually an energy generator, but it needs an energy behind it to amplify it to do something properly. And so when we finished producing our first prototypes and we had them ready to play with, what we were looking for was, how far across a property will the new Stelladome work? We know the GeoCleanse works to the boundaries of the properties and can sometimes work to covering your neighbours either side in some cases, depending on how close their earth wire is to your earth wire. But with the Stelladome, we wanted to see if it would do the same across the block we were living in, which was probably about 1,200 square metres. And with the first testing, it did that, not a problem at all. We're quite surprised about that. Then we took the Stelladome to Sydney to Mind, Body, Spirit. And Leanne had one in her handbag, and we noticed that when we got to the airport, it created a huge clear space around the airport. When we got to our accommodation, which was in Darling Square, which was an 8-storey motel, Leanne pulled her Stelladome out of her handbag and put it on the ground, which was one way to use it. She went off up the road to, I think, to get me some beer it was, or get some supplies or something. I went downstairs and had a drink in the bar, as you do. And while I was there, I was thinking, we were up on the 6th level, that dome's on the 6th level. I can actually feel it having an effect downstairs on the ground level. So I pulled my phone out, and with Google Earth, I read the building with Google Earth with the phone and realised, okay, it's actually covered the whole building. And that was a real surprise, because we knew that the GeoCleanse did it by the fact that it was plugged into the power point and working through the wiring. The Stelladome was doing it without actually having to work through the wiring, which was fantastic. But it sort of opened up, in a sense, what you'd call new markets, so to speak, in that it's that powerful that those really, really super sensitive people, when they go out and about, were looking for something really, really powerful. The dome was great for them because they could just put it in their pocket, or a lot of women who tend to be more electro-hypersensitive than men would put them in their handbags and they wouldn't have to worry. School children, I wrote a blog last year on how dangerous the energy is in every school. No wonder school kids come home at the end of the day saying, I don't want to go back there again, or You know, I got bullied by a kid who's normally nice when he's not at school, and that is the radiation charges in schools have a big effect on people's hormones and their neurotransmitters, and their happy hormones and neurotransmitters just go out the door and they turn from nice to pretty ugly. And that's partially probably one reason why that occurs. So for school children, it became great because they had it in the bottom of their backpack. When they got to school, it had a huge effect across the whole school. We did some testing in schools also. Internationally, like in Germany, we sometimes had issues with supplying geocleansers into Germany because it doesn't have a CE number, it doesn't need one, it doesn't have a circuit in it. But the German authorities really didn't get that. Well, the Stelladome will do the same as the geocleanse, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. It doesn't plug into a power point. Then, you know, as time moved through last year, we went from summer into winter, especially in Melbourne. People's awareness started to shift more around the moles in houses, and our awareness began to shift that way too. And we started to understand that there were a lot of houses that actually had mold in their roof cavities, and we've written a blog about this recently. It was actually really funny. Bronnie, our office manager, had just moved into a new house, and it was an older house with a flat roof, and she had a geocleanse in there, and she came into work one day and she said, something's just not quite right. I said, okay. I said, why don't you just take a Stelladome home and try that? And she came back going, wow, it fixed up whatever the problem was. I later visited the house and found that actually she had a mold problem in her roof cavity. And that usually occurs, okay, one from a leaking roof, but mainly a lot of houses have exhaust fans in their bathrooms where the steam from when you have a shower or bath goes straight up into the roof cavity and accumulates over a period of time. And a roof cavity or a pitched roof has the same shape basically as the underside of a pyramid. And I know my plutonic solids and shapes and have been aware of what different things do for many, many years. And that's why we do a dome and we don't do a pyramid. Like pyramid harmonizers don't work at all. Like I get a few people ask me about shungite pyramids. I go, no, don't waste your money. You know, anything that's black doesn't do a good job. And there's some dodgy so-called science out there claiming that shungite works really well, and you can never get it to work. It's actually not correct, not having a go at it, but this is a real fact. So getting back to the roof cavity, it's like the underside of a pyramid. It projects a noxious charge downwards. The mold creates a radiation charge. People don't know that, they're not aware of that. So that charge is projected down into the living space. The dome, with its dome shape, creates a radiance that goes upwards, and that radiance neutralises the charge coming down from the mold. And I think I spoke about this in the last webinar, where we had a woman who said to me, every time I go to my mother's place and she's got a geocleanse, I can feel the Wi-Fi. And I said, no, it's not the Wi-Fi. And I checked the mother's place on Google Earth and I said, there's mold in the roof cavity. She took a dome there, she bought a dome, she took it there, came back going, wow, I can't feel the Wi-Fi anymore. But it wasn't, it was a mold in the roof cavity. She just wasn't awareness around it, because there is no awareness around these things. The torus, if you have it facing down, but it really doesn't really matter because we've tested the dome in a handbag when it's on its side, but I like to have it on the ground or on a table. That sends an energy down into the ground. That helps that charge to spread to the earth wire. So the earth wire takes it back in through the meter box and through the electrical system, similar to a geocleanse. And we've tested that. But you've also got the radiance going out at the same time. And houses that have a radiance are like houses that sit on ley lines, which I spoke about last week, which are earth energy lines, which are very beautiful, very powerful. If you have a house on a ley line, your energetics are going to be great. If you maintain your ley line energy with the dome, it'll even be better, or the geocleanse. But if you're not on a ley line, the dome will create the same type of radiance.